This video is titled as MGR's Big Dream Come True. The reason is Bharat Ratna, late M.G. Ramachandran, popularly known as MGR. These are not the mere letters of alphabet. MGR is the heartbeats of millions and millions of people in our country. And he ruled not only the film industry but also the state of Tamil Nadu as the Chief Minister of State until his last breath, that is on 24th December 1987. Late Dr. M.G. Ramachandran, when he was considered as a revolutionary actor in Tamil cinema industry, when everyone thought that cinema industry is only for entertainment purpose, but Dr. MGR felt that it cannot alone be the entertainment, but it can be used as an effective medium to educate the people at large, to inculcate good habits among the countrymen, to bring knowledge, to educate knowledge to them. So this is how he treated the cinema industry. Therefore, he was very, very careful in choosing his characters, in uttering dialogues, and even in songs, he used to pay so much attention. Therefore, a person who has lost hope must get faith after listening to that song. A person who was coward must become brave after listening to that MGR song. A person who was in dark must come to light after listening to that song. So this was the reason for him to pay so much attention for his songs that made him immortal even today. So through his songs, he used to educate people at large. One such songs were a song from movie called Vivasayi, that means farmer. Lyrics written by Udumalai Narayana Kavi. The song goes like this.
நல்ல நல்ல நிலம் பார்த்து நாமும் விதை விதைக்கணும், நாட்டு மக்கள் மனங்களிலே நாணயத்தை வளர்க்கணும். நல்ல நல்ல நிலம் பார்த்து நாமும் விதை விதைக்கணும், நாட்டு மக்கள் மனங்களிலே நாணயத்தை வளர்க்கணும். பள்ளி என்ற நிலங்களிலே கல்வி தன்னை விதைக்கணும், பிள்ளைகளை சீர்திருத்தி பெரியவர்கள் ஆக்கணும். வளர்த்து பெற்ற திருநாட்டினிலே பற்றுதனை விதைக்கணும், பற்றுதனை விதைத்துவிட்டு நல்ல ஒற்றுமையை வளர்க்கணும்.
And this was the dream of the Dr. late M.G. Ramachandran, that in the fertile land of school, education must be sown as a seed, and children must be reformed and molded as the great leaders. So this was his dream, got reflected from this song. and I got an opportunity to realize late MGR's dream to come true by addressing orientation program before the law students at NMIMS School of Law, Navi Mumbai, on the topic Scope of Litigation and Judiciary. So I shared my experience, I shared my knowledge with the law students to make better lawyers, better citizens of this country. This is my humble tribute to Dr. MGR by making his dream come true.
I am wife of the series and
Thank you so much, Shreya, for your introductory note, and I thank Ravisha and Jay Mishra for coordinating this program. I convey my sincere thanks to the Associate Dean, Mr. Saurabh Chaturvedi sir, for inviting me to address this orientation program. And it is truly an honor and privilege to get introduced to the law students. Today you are the law student, but tomorrow you will be the senior advocates, then judges of the High Court, judges of the Honorable Supreme Court, and you are the future custodian of the Indian Constitution. Because now you are a law student, you are like a seed. You are sown in the fertile land of NMIMS Law School, and as a seed you have got complete potential to grow as the future pillars of this country. I say so with utmost sincerity, and having said that you will be the future custodian of the Indian Constitution, it is my bounden duty to tell you briefly about what is our Indian Constitution, what was the mission and vision of our founding fathers. For that, I would like to take you way back to 1940s without any flight ticket, without any wastage of time. Let me take you to 1940s, from digital India to British India. In 1940s, though Indian independence started way back in 1857 itself, but in 1940s it reached the peak. Our mother India was ruled by the Britishers, and Mother India wanted independence. So Mother requested the great sons of the soil to save her from the clutches of the Britishers. But who had to lead the team? Who had to lead the entire nation? It was the prominent leaders who belonged to our legal profession. They led the entire nation, and ultimately on 15th August 1947, our Mother India secured independence. Who were they? The great leaders. Naming father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the longest serving Prime Minister and first Prime Minister of our country, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Iron Man of India. What we see, the unified India today, it is all because of his commitment and courage. And Dr. Rajagopalachari, the first Governor General of independent India, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was born in a very poor family but became the first law minister of the country. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the first president of our country, and even today, who is our President of India? Mr. Ramnath Kovindji. He was also an advocate on record in the Honorable Supreme Court of India in the year 1970s. Since, dear friends, these great leaders, these prominent leaders, the common thread that was passing through these great leaders, that they all belong to our great profession. They were all lawyers, and then they sacrificed their life, they sacrificed their profession, and then they dedicated their entire life for the Indian independence. Now, Mother India got independence. The next task that was before the great leaders were to protect and preserve our Mother India. Having said Mother India, you can ask me the question, so who is our father? The father is nothing but the Constitution of India. So the founding fathers derived their powers from Indian Independence Act 1947. This act empowered the transfer of power from the Britishers to India, and further it gave power to constitute a committee called Constituent Assembly to draft the Indian Constitution, by which our entire country can function. Therefore, founding fathers, looking at the best provisions of constitutional provisions from across countries, they brought the best provisions from USA, UK, Canada, Australia, Germany, and then to suit the unique country called India. Why I say it is unique? Because we speak different languages, we belong to different religion, different region, different culture, traditions. It changes from state to state. So therefore, taking the best provisions from various countries and getting it suited to Indians, and finally the Constitution of India was enacted in the year 26th November 1949. And what does the preamble says? That is the face of our Indian Constitution. And the founding fathers expressed their objectives in the preamble. The preamble goes like this: we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly on 26th November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution of India. So dear friends, to commemorate on 26th November, every year it is being celebrated as National Law Day by the government itself. And it came into force on 26th January 1950, and it became a republic country. So having known the idea and the preamble of the Indian Constitution, now the question is how the entire Constitution functions. So the entire Constitution governs the country, and it is broadly classified into three categories, dear friends. Firstly, the legislature. They are empowered to make law for the benefit of the people at large, be it central government, be it parliament in the central, and be it state legislature in other states. They enact law for the benefit of the people at large. Executives, the second organ is executive. Executives, they execute the law enacted by the competent authorities. And the third one, the most important organ to which we all belong to, that is judiciary. Judiciary will have a check upon the legislature and the executive and see to that all other organs functions in tune with the Indian Constitution. So having said that Constitution functions like this, the founding fathers of our Constitution felt to whom to entrust this living document, this legendary document, whom should we trust, who can be the custodian of the Indian Constitution. That was worrying in the minds of founding fathers, because Winston Churchill reminded our leaders that you should not believe Indians and they do not require independence at this stage. They may have sweet words in their lips but silly heart. They may fight for power. They may tax the people even for water. Therefore they will kill each other to run behind the power. So this was a message by Winston Churchill to our prominent leaders. So our leaders were very, very careful whom to hand over this Indian Constitution. And finally, they came to the conclusion that our Constitution will be in the safe hands, that is, they entrusted the onerous task before the Honorable Supreme Court. So Honorable Supreme Court became the custodian of the Indian Constitution, dear friends. And you can ask me the question, sir, who is there in the Supreme Court? Supreme Court is being governed by the honorable judges. Who are they? They are the persons of integrity. They are the persons of wisdom. They are the persons of competence. They are the persons of divinity. That is the reason we address them as our lords. So who were they earlier? They were earlier High Court judges. Before that, they were senior advocates. Even before that, they were advocates. And before that, they were law students like you. So you are a law student. Tomorrow after your enrollment, you will become an advocate and then senior advocate. Then you will become a High Court judge, then Supreme Court judge, even maybe the President or Law Minister of this country. Therefore, you are the future custodian of the Constitution, dear friends. So having travelled back to 1940s and seeing the British era, and having seen the future, that you will be the future custodian of the Indian Constitution. But one thing is most important. The future depends upon our present. So what do you do today, that will determine your future. So as a law student, now you have entered the school of law. What is your duty? How can you become the greatest person in our legal profession? It's all what you do in these 5 years. So as a law student, first always respect the teachers. Teaching profession is the mother of all professions. They are the one who produces lawyers like us. They are the one who produces doctors. So without teaching profession, there cannot be any other profession. Therefore, respect the teachers, listen to them, obey them, and develop a good rapport relationship with your teachers, because they are the guiding factors. You must have known a popular adage, Mata Pita Guru Deva. When you are born, when you are few days old, few months old, our mother used to introduce our father to us. So mother introduces father to the child, that he is your father. And after 3 years or 4 years, when we get an age to get admitted in the school, both the father and mother hold the hands of a child and they introduce the teacher. That is how you are being introduced today to NMIMS. So what is the duty of the teacher? Teacher's duty is not to answer your questions, dear friends. teacher's duty is to ignite your mind to find the answer for your own questions. Teachers are not the torch bearers, but they will lit the lamp which is within you, and you can be a guiding factor for yourself, and you can guide others. Therefore, Mata, Pita, Guru will make you to realize, that is self-realization, that is God. So putting all these three are visible gods. So always worship your teachers. Worshipping teachers, that habit will come to you automatically. Then you will worship the court also. Court is considered to be the temple of justice, and you should worship them, you should listen to the court. Otherwise you will be hauled upon for contempt. So this is your first rule in your law school, that you must respect and worship your teachers. Number 2, you must be studious, you must be sincere to your subjects. You must love your subjects. When IPC class or CRPC or Indian Evidence Act, whatever the subjects that teachers are teaching you, please listen to them and try to read on the very same day. Because once you get enrolled as an advocate, as your senior will not teach you, because he will find no time to teach you. So these 5 years you must dedicate yourself and you must learn your law. Number 3, getting good marks in the subjects. Apart from that, you must participate in all the competitions which comes on your way. I am not asking you to win the competition, dear friends. It depends upon the performance. But I want you to participate. Try to understand plus and minus of moot court competitions. How to equip oneself for moot court competition. How to prepare yourself for client counseling. So equip yourself for these competitions. And fourthly, whenever you find time, you try to do internship with advocates who is into litigation or who is into corporate or who is running a firm, but get associated with them for a couple of months to understand how the theory that you read in college is put in practice, and how are they saving the life of a client by applying the provisions of law. That you will get only through internship. It was my great honor. Many of the students from NMIMS had done internship with me in the last year, and even some of them are doing even today. So internship will give you greater idea about the profession. So now, during these 5 years, you have studied well, developed good rapport, and you have availed all the opportunities that is available before you. Now you are fully equipped to get enrolled as an advocate. So now you have enrolled. After enrollment, what is to be done? That is the topic for today, dear friends. What is the scope of litigation and what is the scope of judiciary?